Quick question about how you feel about drilling in the Arctic refuge.
Totally opposed to it. Completely, totally
Excellent.
opposed to it. No more drilling on federal lands, period. Period, period, period. But the Arctic Circle is a disaster to do that.
That's candidate Biden in 2020, probably either February, March of 2020 in New Hampshire. And over the weekend, the White House approved a major Arctic drilling project. It continues a move to the center on drilling, crime, and immigration ahead of President Biden's expected announcement for re-election. Chris Stirewalt's here, NewsNation political editor, as well as Amie, Parnes, senior correspondent for our partners at The Hill. Nice to see you both. Chris, is it that simple in terms of timing here, that you've got a re-election announcement coming up, you've got a Republican House, and this is pure politics?
Well, I mean, look, they had a choice to make. They have potentially a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit from Conoco Phillips that has the right to drill on this land. They own the leases, and the federal government would have had to not just so in this case, think about it this way: Joe Biden, in the run-up to his re-election campaign, would have to not only, it's not just that he wouldn't be authorizing new drilling, it's that he would be fighting in court to prevent new drilling from taking place. And this is with Republicans and Democrats from Alaska, tribal leaders, so on and so forth, all saying, please, 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 let this happen. We really need this. That's a pretty tough pull under any circumstances, but certainly when gas prices are as high as they are.
Now, gas prices are up, approval ratings numbers are down. It's a tough place to run for re-election, fighting drilling. Amie, put up this real quick from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and others who are upset over this. The Biden administration is committed to fighting climate change, advancing environmental justice. Today's decision to approve the Willow Project fails to live up to those promises. Joint statement, Ed Markey of Massachusetts, their decision ignores the irrefutable science that says we must stop building projects like this to slow the ever more devastating impacts of climate change. What is the calculus right now at the White House between moving to the center, especially on immigration crime, a little bit on climate, and angering the progressive base?
So here's the thing, I think, Leland, about Joe Biden and where he is. He is a guy who considers himself a centrist. He positions himself in that way. He got angry. If you go back to 2020, a lot of staffers around him were upset when people started pushing him more to the left because they said that that wasn't a place that is traditional Biden. That's not his landscape. That's not where he feels comfortable. But he is running for re-election again. And this is part of the White House and the campaign, the inevitable campaign gearing up, positioning themselves in just the right place where they're going to appeal. They don't want to anger people in the center, maybe some Republicans who would consider voting for him, maybe not. But they want to be more in the center. That's where the president feels most comfortable. I think that you're going to hear a lot of consternation from the left. I've heard from a lot of those people today myself who are very upset about what has happened. But I think this is a place where he needs to kind of move to set up for the general election down the road.
Yeah, you could argue pretty convincingly a case that at least for the first 2 years of his administration, he was not that centrist. It was a pretty progressive agenda that the president put out. Chris, to you, he won the midterms effectively? Kept the Senate, on and on and on, one of those successful midterms of a modern presidency, by being pretty radical on the issue of abortion and fairly aggressive in his prosecution against Republicans, something he did again on Thursday. Take a listen.
You may have seen the back and forth of the MAGA Republicans in me. The MAGA Republicans, 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 MAGA Republicans are using the threat of default.
Being to the left worked for him in 2022. Why not continue it?
Well, I don't know that it was being to the left that worked for him in 2022. I think what worked for him in 2022 was Donald Trump and the fratricidal lunacy inside the Republican Party, where they couldn't get out of each other's way to take advantage of a very favorable electoral atmosphere. A normal Republican Party would have won, 35 House seats, taken control of the Senate. It would have been a very different story. And that is the story of Joe Biden's presidency from start to now.
Thanks for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the red button to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.